Alright, well, I went over the comments that people left on questions they want answered about certain sizes of things and everything else. I think the one that I don't have on hand, but I can draw it out real quick. That, or I'll tell you what it is and you can research it yourself. It's pretty easy. It's Mike Fabar left it. The one you're thinking of from what your description is, I'm pretty sure it's the Kabutowari, and that's spelled K-U-B. I think it's spelt like that. It's a helmet breaker or helmet splitter. And it looks like that. Yeah, it's about a ½ inch thick. If you search it, I found one at a place called Shadow of Leaves. They have a good description of one. Normally, they're pretty big. Just from here to here is normally, I would say, about 11 inches. The handle can be any size you want, whatever fits your hand. This little gap right there is about a ½ inch. About a ½ inch in there. And then, you just trace it out to get a design that you like. So that's the Kabutowari. I mean, it's not anything that real specific. If you do some research on it, you'll find out. I don't really have one on hand. It's upstairs in one of the 20 bins that I have, and I can't really go through all that right now because it's packed with a bunch of other crap. Probably the biggest one has been the Kama and the Katsushoge. I have a lot of different designs for Kamas. I'm talking a whole lot. This is my folder of all my designs. There's just crap loads in here of stuff that I've done and drawn up. There's kind of see through that. That's one design that I made. All the different measurements. There's that design. Normally, and I have one on hand that I can show you. When it comes to the blade, the thickness of it, I like to go 3/16 just because that's my preference. You can go an 1/8 inch. That's totally fine. I just like to do 3/16. 1/4 inch is a little too thick for it. But this is the one that I'm working on right now. I just heat treated it at work, so it's not 100% pretty. Make sure my camera's stable. The length of this, there's a bunch of different lengths you can do. I mean, I think this one has got a 6-inch blade on it. Yeah, it's got a 6-inch blade. You can do a little bit of a curve. You can do straight across. I've done ones that have been straight across. Curved top. There's a little cutout right there. You can do that. But normally I go anywhere between a 4 and a 6-inch blade. And the thickness or the width of the blade, usually around 1 1/4 inches. Sorry, this is not the best scale to do this with. Let's see if I got a better one. I usually go about 1 1/4 inches for the thickness of, or the width of the blade, and then I just slowly taper that down to the end. Pretty much I draw a lot of these out over and over and over and over again just to get a design that I like, and I'll actually draw it out on, you know, a heavy piece of paper and cut it out just to see how it looks. But that's normally the length, 4 to 6 inch blade, depending on what kind of design I feel like making or how long the handle is. It all relates to itself, just on what you like. A lot of it's personal. Well, excuse me, personal preference. Now the angle on this blade, this one is about 5/8, but I usually go anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch on the blade, the actual angled part. So that's my personal preference. You can do a full flat grind on it. That's cool. Yeah. The tang, or the part that sticks in the handle, just from what after making so many of these, and what I found is whatever the width of your blade is, you can get the tang to stick in about double what that is. That's normally good enough, and if you have a nice locking collar, you'll be fine. So 1.25 inches, that's 2.5. This one I got at 3.5, just because of this design that I'm working on. So this one's a little different, but normally 2.5 would be about right there. That's more than enough. This one is 3/16 thick, just because that's the kind of steel that I had laying around. But that's normally what I go with. Like I said, 6 to 4 inch blade, about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch grind on there. Double the tang, whatever the width of the blade is. You know, you can put a hole in up here for the chain. If not, that's totally fine. That's, once again, it's your personal preference if you like the chain going from the head or the end of the handle. So we'll talk about the handle real quick. I gotta try and squeeze all this in my memory card. Doesn't have a lot left on it. I should have emptied it out. But the one that I'm working on right now, I can use as an example. Get all this out of the way. Here's the handle for it. You can see it's got a nice cut in it for the blade. Now the handle length, I like to go, and it's the full handle, I like to go anywhere between 10 to 13 inches, depending on the length of the blade. If it's a shorter blade, I'll do a little bit shorter handle. If it's a longer blade, a little bit longer. This one is like 13.5. That's just due to my locking collar that I have. I added an extra 1/2 inch. But the handle, I would say anywhere between 13 and 10 inches. That's good for a handle. I use a lot of 1 inch round. That's what I normally use, is 1 inch round. Here I'm using 1 1/8 just due to the design. But 1 inch round is great. That's what I use a lot of. You can see how this one's gonna go together once I finish everything. I don't want to scratch this up. Line everything up. So that's going to be the handle. That's going to be the blade. It's all going to stay untouched. Nothing's been stained. Nothing's been black oxided. All I'm doing is putting a coat of clear lacquer on everything just to help with rust. Then you got your chain. This one, like I said, is being attached to the bottom. See the hole? This one's actually being set inside there and then pinned. So, see, it's a nice fit inside there. It's gonna go all the way up to there. Chain length. I've been wondering about chain length for a lot of reasons. The best thing I found was just recently I asked a question on one of the last ones I was doing, what chain length they should use, and they sent me a picture of It was a drawing of a guy holding a chain of a kusarigama, and the chain was the length of his arm span, and then the chain was dropping to the ground. So normally around like 10 feet. That's what I do for chain. The round weight, this one's got a 1.5 inch round weight, just because I like that size. I'd either do 1.5 inch or 1 3/8 inches, and the other videos you can see where I get those from. So kusarigama, there are some dimensions, but a lot of it's personal preference, and just draw some designs out in real size so you can see what they are. I'm gonna try in 6 minutes squeeze in the last one, which is not that easy to describe. Well, everyone knows what this is. It's the Kabutowari. So you can see handle anywhere between 4 and 5 inches from the edge to there, about 5 inches. This inside radius is 3 3/4. That outside radius is 4.5. I actually used a roll of duct tape and I think an old grinding wheel to get those dimensions. The blade, I started it from here, and it's 6 inches, 1 inch wide. 3/16 is probably better for this. A hole in the bottom of the handle. So it's not really, what I found out from doing so many of these weapons and everything is that there's really not any set in stone dimension. It's all kind of what you prefer. And I know people hate hearing that when they ask for what size is what, but that's the honest to God's truth. I've made Kabutowari with less of a curve, with more of a curve. I made one that just has a straight blade coming off. It all is really kind of what you like. This is more, I guess, traditional design, if you want to call it that. But these are the dimensions that I normally start off with and go with. And of course, it's got blades on both sides. Yada yada yada. They use rope for this. Rope's normally kind of the same length as the kusarigama, if not a little bit longer, probably around anywhere between 10 and 12 feet. 3/8 inch rope or 1/4 inch rope is more than enough. As for the ring that attaches to this has got to be the one thing that I hate making. I have not found an easy way to do it. The last one I did for one of my own personal projects, I actually had our machinist at my shop mill one out on a CNC for me, just because I hate doing them. The dimensions for it, and the original dimensions when I asked someone was, it was the width of, the inside was the width of your palm. So the inside ID was the width of your palm. And then it was about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch thick wide material. So that's not 1 inch, that's so your palm's on the inside, that's the width of that, which is, I think, around like 4 inches maybe on the average person. What's mine? Yeah, 4 inches. So like a 4-inch ID, or your palm, depending if you have bigger hands, but 4 inches, that's kind of the average. With the 1.5 inch or 3/4 inch thickness, I go with normally 3/4 of an inch, because then that makes the overall size 5.5, which I find to be more preferable. I like that better. This 3/16 thick, once again, that's, I don't know, I like working with 3/16. I find that the 3/16 inch material gives you both thickness and durability, but it's not as heavy as a 1/4 inch, but it's a little bit heavier than 1/8, which 1/8 is great to use. It makes great blade steel, but 3/16 is kind of that middle median of lightness and durability. Plus, with a 1/4 inch, trying to grind edges on a 1/4 inch, you're going to be grinding forever. I made a couple kunai out of 1/4 inch, and you're grinding non-stop. This blade that I made yesterday, I knocked out these edges in about an hour yesterday, and then I had to finish them up at work after I heat treated it. And this thing's going in the oven to be tempered. And I'm gonna temper it probably to a Rockwell of maybe like 57, 58. And I'm gonna finish sharpening it. So that's really, really it. Hopefully you can take these dimensions and kind of mess with it yourself. And just like I said, I've made countless kusarigamas and countless katsushoges, and not one of them has been the same. They're all different. I like a lot of the different designs. If you look on Google, you can see there's hundreds of designs for kusarigamas and katsushoges. There's a lot of different stuff. So experiment yourself. You can use some of these base dimensions to help it out, but draw it out and see what you like. All right, later.